Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're really digging into what actually drives success and impact, in our careers, in our lives.
Yeah, we're trying to look past the usual assumptions about, well, who matters and what really makes a difference.
Exactly. And to help us do that, we've got some really interesting sources lined up.
We do. We're looking at 2 episodes from BBC Radio 4's analysis program. The first one asks, are we maybe overstating how much individual leaders actually influence events? And the second one, it kind of challenges the whole idea of talent. What does that even mean in the workplace?
Okay, so big questions there.
Definitely. And then we'll switch gears a bit and look at some very grounded career advice from Shane Rogers. He wrote this really popular LinkedIn piece called The Career Advice I Wish I Had at 25.
Right. So the plan is to sort of weave these together, the big picture leadership stuff, the idea of individual talent, and then the long game of a career.
Yeah, see where the ideas connect, maybe find some surprising links.
So if you've ever found yourself wondering, did that CEO really turn the company around single-handedly? Or what should I actually look for when hiring someone beyond the CV?
Or even just, how do I approach my own career for long-term growth and maybe even, dare I say, fulfillment?
Then hopefully this deep dive is for you. Okay, let's get started.
Great. So leadership first. That analysis episode, Do Leaders Make a Difference? It really pushes you to think twice about how much actual control people at the very top have.
Right. Does it question if we give maybe too much credit or blame to individuals like prime ministers, CEOs?
Exactly. The host, Michael Blastland, he explores that directly. Do these figures really steer events as much as the headlines suggest? Or are they maybe riding bigger waves?
Bigger waves, like what?
Well, the episode brings in experts from different fields, history, behavioral science, economics.
Ah, okay.
And they suggest that, broader things like public mood shifts, economic trends, just the general attitude at the time, these might actually be the main drivers.
So the leader might be more of a focal point, or maybe someone navigating these forces rather than creating them from scratch.
That seems to be the suggestion. It's not saying leaders do nothing, of course, but maybe their influence is, let's say, more constrained, or perhaps more about shaping the environment than direct control over outcomes.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. It certainly complicates the simple great leader narrative we often hear.
It does. It makes you ask, how much agency does one person really have?
Yeah.
It suggests maybe we should look more closely at the context, the collective action, the bigger picture.
Okay, fascinating. Let's pivot then to the second analysis episode. You mentioned the one about talent. Is talent a thing? That title alone is quite provocative.
It really is. Margaret Heffernan argues in it that talent, as we usually talk about it in business, is, kind of fuzzy, ill-defined.
Fuzzy how?
We use the word all the time, but do we really know what we mean? And crucially, does focusing on this idea of innate talent actually help us find the right people?
So she's questioning things like relying heavily on, say, top university degrees or amazing grades, exactly.
Do those things reliably predict who will actually thrive and contribute in a specific job, in a specific team? The episode suggests maybe not as much as we assume.
So if the traditional markers aren't the whole story, what else should we be looking for? What does the episode suggest?
It points towards other qualities. Things like grit.
Yeah.
That resilience, the perseverance to push through difficulty.
Okay.
And also cultural fit. Does this person genuinely connect with how the company works, its values? They also talked about interview techniques that try to get beyond the polished surface and really see how someone thinks, how they collaborate.
So it's less about some fixed, born-with-it talent and more about
What?
Adaptability, mindset, how you work with others.
Precisely. It leans towards qualities that are maybe more about growth potential and how someone actually operates day to day, rather than just their past achievements on paper. The capacity to learn and adapt seems key.
That really forces a rethink, doesn't it, for hiring managers, but also for individuals thinking about their own development. What should I be cultivating in myself?
Yeah. If talent isn't this simple thing we thought it was, what skills, what attributes truly matter for success and contribution? It's a big question.
Okay, this actually connects really nicely with the third piece we're looking at, Shane Rogers' article, because his advice seems very grounded in that long-term development idea.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
His central point, that a career is a marathon, not a sprint, speaks directly to that.
Yeah, that metaphor really lands.
He stresses patience. You don't become an expert overnight. It takes time, dedicated practice. He mentions the whole 10,000-hour rule idea.
Right, from Malcolm Gladwell. The importance of just putting in the time, the focused effort.
Exactly. It's a reminder not to expect instant results, whether you're 25 or 45. Mastery takes time.
And it's not just about the work itself, is it? He talks quite a bit about balance.
Oh, definitely. He makes a really strong point about not sacrificing important life events, family things, personal milestones for work that in the grand scheme of things might seem trivial later.
I remember reading that. He specifically mentions maybe slightly deprioritizing the career climb when your kids are very young.
Yes, because that time is so fleeting, you can't get it back. And he argues that, taking your foot off the gas just a little bit during those years probably won't hurt your career long-term nearly as much as you might fear.
That's powerful advice. What about his point about acting like you're 35? I found that intriguing.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
It means, if you're young, bring maturity, responsibility. Think strategically. Don't just act like the intern.
Okay.
But if you're older, maintain that energy, that curiosity, the adaptability. Don't become rigid. It's about finding that productive middle ground throughout your career.
Sort of blending the best of different career stages.
Exactly. And he also talks a lot about the human side of managing, about empowering people, really seeing them as individuals with unique strengths, not just, interchangeable parts.
He references Jack Welch, doesn't he? The GE guy. About the performance curve.
Yeah, the 20-70-10 idea.
Yeah.
20% are superstars, 10% maybe aren't a good fit. But that crucial 70% in the middle, they're the engine room. You need to value and support them.
Don't just focus all your attention on the top 20.
Right. And appreciate that solid, consistent contribution. He also really hammers home the importance of listening.
Listening to your team.
Yeah. Trusting that the people doing the work often have the best ideas for improvement. Ask internally before you rush out to hire expensive consultants. That kind of thing.
That seems like common sense, but maybe it isn't common practice everywhere.
Probably not. He's also very direct about bad work environments.
Oh, the point about horrible bosses.
Yes. His advice is blunt. Don't tolerate it. Get out. Life's too short, which is pretty crucial for well-being.
Absolutely. And connected to that, he mentions emotional capacity.
The idea that everyone has limits. We're not machines. And good employers need to understand that, people go through tough times personally. And they need support and flexibility, not just pressure.
It's about recognizing the whole person.
Totally. And he's big on diverse networks, too.
How does he frame that?
Encouraging younger folks to find mentors, obviously, but also telling older, more experienced people to actively connect with younger colleagues. Get those fresh perspectives, mix up the age groups, the backgrounds.
Break out of your echo chamber.
Yeah. And related to that, he champions cultural diversity and actually working overseas if you get the chance.
Broadening your horizons, literally. I like his story about JFK and the cleaner at NASA.
Oh, that's a classic. Yeah, the cleaner saying his job was helping put a man on the moon.
It perfectly illustrates that sense of purpose, right? Understanding how your specific job, whatever it is, connects to the bigger mission.
It really does.
Yeah.
And that ties into his point about considering working abroad. There's never a perfect time, he says, and people often regret not taking those chances later on.
It sounds like he puts a lot of emphasis on the human connections at work, too.
Huge emphasis. Having friends at work, enjoying the people you spend your days with. He links happy people and passion directly to having good colleagues.
Makes sense. If you dread seeing your coworkers, it's hard to be passionate about the job.
Exactly. And perhaps the most fundamental point he makes is about ethics.
Never compromise your values for work.
Never. If a place asks you to do something that feels wrong, you leave. Your integrity is paramount.
That's a non-negotiable. And finally, he talks about failure.
Yeah, reframing it, not as the end of the world, but as learning. He uses the Thomas Edison quote, finding 10,000 ways that don't work is progress.
So embrace calculated risks. Don't be paralyzed by fear of messing up.
Pretty much. Learn from it, adjust, keep going.
Okay, so pulling all three sources together now. How do these ideas connect? The leadership doubts, the talent rethink, the marathon career advice.
Well, it strikes me that the analysis episode questioning leader impact really resonates with Roger's points about collective wisdom and empowering your team.
So maybe effective leadership isn't about having all the answers yourself, but about creating a space where the team's answers can emerge.
Exactly. It shifts the focus from the single heroic figure to the collective environment they foster.
And the episode questioning talent, how does that link up?
Well, if talent isn't just raw, innate ability, but includes things like grit, resilience, adaptability, then Roger's marathon, not a sprint view makes even more sense.
Because those qualities, grit, resilience, are exactly what you need for a marathon, right? To keep going when it gets tough, to learn from setbacks.
Precisely. It aligned perfectly. Success becomes less about a brilliant flash in the pan and more about sustained effort, learning, and perseverance over the long haul.
And Rogers' advice to listen, to value different perspectives, that seems to echo the leadership idea too, that maybe the broader currents and collective views are often more powerful than top-down directives.
I think so. It all points towards a more distributed, collaborative model of how things actually get done successfully, whether it's leading a country or building a career.
Okay, so wrapping this all up then, it seems like maybe the traditional view of the all-powerful leader needs tweaking. Perhaps it's more about enabling the collective.
That seems to be a key takeaway. And this idea of talent, maybe it's less about some fixed gift and more about learnable, adaptable qualities like grit and collaboration.
Which leads to the career advice.
Yeah.
View it as a long game, a marathon. Focus on growth, relationships, ethics, and resilience, not just a mad dash to the top.
Yeah, it paints a picture of success that's maybe more sustainable and arguably more fulfilling. So the journey, the learning, the connections, just as much as the destination.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Considering all this, is there one assumption you hold about leadership, about what talent means, or about your own career path that might be worth, just gently questioning today?
What small shift in how you see things could open up a different, maybe more rewarding path forward? Something to mull over.
Definitely food for thought. We hope this deep dive gave you some interesting perspectives to consider.